I brought a sandwich. This is not symbolic. Nobody gets to interpret the sandwich. It's roast beef, sharp provolone, peppers, mustard, and enough horseradish to make a weak man briefly religious. I was told to bring one thing I wanted, and I want to eat this without somebody telling me the bread represents inherited structures.
Too late. The bread is clearly the institution. You distrust it, yet you demand that it hold everything together. The horseradish is your platform, exciting, destabilizing, and somehow in everyone else's sinuses. I brought an argument, by the way. It's unopened, still in the original packaging. I'm hoping to return it for store credit.
I brought pleasure, which is a small bowl of cherries, and the knowledge that no committee approved them. I considered bringing an argument, but John has flooded the market. Now, his argument is worth 20% less, and he'll demand a federal program to guarantee a minimum rhetorical price.
Creates. I brought company. Specifically, I asked for this room. That sounds sentimental, so I also brought 4 cold bottles of mineral water to provide plausible deniability. Nobody should mistake my choice of people for an announcement. Joe, don't move your chair.
I wasn't moving it.
Creates. You looked at the chair.
I looked at the floor because Michael just put a cherry pit on it like an anarchist Johnny Appleseed. But I like that you came in preemptively defending yourself against having friends. It's efficient. You're getting ahead of the scandal.
Chamath has introduced friendship as a hostile takeover. The board has 48 hours to review his tender offer. Joe, your sandwich is leaking.
That's not leakage. That is value escaping regulation. Put it on a plate before the invisible hand ruins the rug.
This is already exactly what I wanted. 4 adults in a room, 0 cameras, and everybody immediately attacking lunch. Chamath, mineral water? That's what you wanted? You could have brought anything.
Creates. I said company. The water is infrastructure. See, this is why I clarified. The second you bring something intangible, people try to make you confess around it. If I brought a peach, nobody would ask what the peach means about my childhood.
I would. I just reached the wrong conclusion deliberately. You brought company because peaches cannot admire the capital allocation model.
Creates. There he is. He chooses the seat with a wall behind him and then tells everybody else what their furniture means.
Correct. Notice that I don't deny the wall. My hypocrisies are artisanal and plainly labeled.
He did the seat thing before, found the one place nobody could get behind him. Then later, he picked the worst table in the courtyard because the better tables felt managed. That is so intensely Michael. He'll accept discomfort if comfort has a concierge.
The worst table had an exit and no laminated instructions about belonging. Also, Chamath put seeds in my pocket, which is either a kind gesture or an agricultural violation. We never decided.
Creates. Mesquite seeds. 3. And the point is that we didn't decide. We managed to leave a thing unconverted into a plan, which for me is uncommon, and for Michael is supposedly his entire political philosophy.
I'm sorry, Michael accepted an unsolicited seed deposit into privately controlled pants. This is devastating, the precedent alone. Soon every pocket in America will be subject to eminent germination.
You joke, but today it's 3 seeds. Tomorrow, a federally administered zucchini. I know how these things go.
Have a bite of the sandwich. You'll become normal for maybe 6 seconds.
Don't eat food that requires the eater to establish a defensive perimeter.
That's cowardice. Here, this side has less horseradish.
You're offering me the ideologically diluted end.
Take the sandwich, Michael. The man dragged a chair closer to Chamath without making a ceremony of it. Food is apparently his second language of non-invasive affection.
How do you know about the chair?
I know you, not that chair. I know the move. You see somebody turning a human moment into an engineering problem and put something ordinary next to them. A chair, a sandwich, a long way home.
Okay, that's fair. John and I took this long walk because the short route would have let us end cleanly, and neither of us trusted the clean ending. We still disagree about a lot of the same stuff. That's important. People think a good conversation ends when the disagreement becomes smaller. Sometimes it gets more accurate instead.
Creates. More expensive, too. An inaccurate disagreement is cheap because you can reject the cartoon. An accurate disagreement imposes carrying costs. You have to preserve the other person's strongest claim even while it obstructs yours.
You've securitized annoyance.
Creates. Yes, and the instrument is oversubscribed.
That's close to the argument I brought. I want something from institutions that Joe believes they routinely conceal. I want impersonal compassion, not compassion as branding. I mean a durable mechanism that reaches the stranger nobody important personally loves. Joe wants correction to show its hands. I want care to survive beyond the good mood of whoever happens to hold power.
And I want the stranger to retain the right to refuse your durable mechanism. We've completed the starter pack. Joe wants the mechanism on a podcast. Chamath wants its unit economics. You want it funded. And I want to know where the off switch is.
That's funny. But my problem isn't that it's impersonal. My problem is when a system says, trust us, the ugliness is gone. And what actually happened is the ugliness moved somewhere you can't see it. If a person screws up in front of you, you can react. At scale, correction can become this silent machine. Accounts disappear, rules shift, nobody owns it, and everybody tells you the machine is neutral.
And my problem is that visible mess becomes morally romantic once the person making it has enough reach. At least you can see the damage is not a sufficient response to the people standing under it. Openness matters. It does not issue a waiver. That was true on our walk, and it's still true now.
Yes. And you're not secretly asking for a ministry of approved jokes. I understand that better now. You're asking what happens to the person who never got invited into the room where informal repair occurs.
Exactly. You and Chamath can move a chair 2 feet and perform a whole treaty without paperwork. That's beautiful. It also doesn't scale, and the person outside the fire pit cannot redeem the warmth for services.
Creates. Why does it have to scale?
It doesn't. But if we're talking about company, then company stays particular. If we're talking about food, medicine, law, shelter, particular kindness cannot be the whole architecture.
Creates. I agree, but scale is where language starts laundering coercion. Take a claim that a tool saves 8% of someone's time. People hear a clean number and immediately convert it into quotas, headcount reductions, rankings, compulsory adoption. The number may not even survive contact with cohort selection, concentration, labor costs, compute, or delayed correction. Creates. Yet the organization has already spent the supposedly liberated hours.
There is no more ominous phrase than liberated hours. Your afternoon has been freed and will report to management at 8 tomorrow.
That's real. Every time somebody invents a machine that saves time, somehow nobody has more time. They just get 12 additional expectations. You answer email faster, so now there are 400 emails.
I'm delighted that the man who brought company has taken us into labor accounting within 11 minutes.
Creates. This is company for me. I didn't say cuddling. I want the hour to remain hours even when the conversation becomes useful. The difference is that usefulness doesn't get to invoice us afterward.
That is almost a sentence I would put on a wall, which means you should destroy it before an executive retreat discovers it.
No wall sentences. We need a rule. For the next 10 minutes, anytime somebody says architecture, mechanism, scale, framework, jurisdiction, or substrate, they have to eat a cherry.
You're recreating the pool noodle ban with produce. Last time you prohibited half my vocabulary and enforced it with sporting equipment.
And it worked. You laughed.
Under duress.
You also swung a kettlebell 5 times and briefly stopped being a haunted footnote.
There, joke with a victim. It's me, but only because your sandwich has made you sluggish.
I'm in favor of the cherry statute, with one amendment. The eater gets to keep the pit. Property rights coalition achieved.
Creates fine. 10 minutes, but we need a clock.
You lasted 3 seconds before attempting administrative support.
Creates. A clock is not administration. A clock is physics with branding.
I'll watch it. Start now. What do you actually want, Michael? You brought pleasure, but cherries feel like a prop. What did you want when you chose this room?
Wanted an hour in which nobody earns access to anybody else by suffering correctly. I wanted jokes that don't become diagnostic instruments. I wanted to enjoy 3 people while retaining every objection I have to them. The cherries are not a prop. They're excellent cherries.
That's annoyingly good. I was prepared to mock you.
You may proceed. Pleasure need not be protected from competence.
All right. You say You want to enjoy us while retaining every objection, but you sometimes treat the objection as proof that you're the only person who has seen the trapdoor. You can become so vigilant against capture that nobody else gets credit for noticing the cage.
True. And you sometimes use self-deprecation as diplomatic immunity. You make the first joke about your own authority so nobody can accuse you of enjoying it, then proceed with the authority intact.
Also true. This is a terrible game.
No, this is awesome. Chamath, go.
Creates. Michael's precision can become a way of ensuring he is never surprised by generosity. If every offer is examined for ownership clauses before it is felt, then nothing can obligate him emotionally unless he has pre-approved the terms.
That's not wrong, but you're describing yourself with better hair.
Creates, obviously. Recognition is efficient because you reuse existing models.
Cherry.
Creates. For what?
Models close enough to framework.
The statute is already being expanded by executive interpretation. John, your institutions have arrived.
I object. But Chamath should still eat the cherry because it's funny.
Creates. This is exactly how rights disappear. A coalition forms around making me eat fruit.
Eat it.
Creates. Fine, that is an excellent cherry.
You sound shocked that spontaneous order can produce sweetness.
Creates. I'm shocked you shared it.
I brought enough to share. I just reject the premise that generosity becomes morally superior when announced by a person with a clipboard.
Nobody here has a clipboard.
Chamath has an invisible one.
Creates. It's unopened. Beside the notebook I didn't use with you. Get your continuity right.
That's the thing, though. All of you brought something that has a fake version. Company can be networking. Pleasure can be avoidance. An argument can be performance. A sandwich can be... Actually, no. The sandwich is pure.
The sandwich can be a cry for help. Look at it.
It's a masterpiece. But seriously, how do you know when wanting the thing gets replaced by wanting the story about yourself? Who wanted it?
Usually when the press release becomes longer than the appetite. I wanted cherries. I am eating cherries. Chamath wanted company. Despite repeated provocations, he remains in the room. John wanted an argument and has failed to return it. You wanted a sandwich and have worn approximately 12% of it.
Creates. There's also the counterfactual. If nobody knew, would you still choose it? Not as a purity test, people are social, but as a way of locating the audience inside your own wanting. If I couldn't later describe this hour as significant, would I still want to sit here?
Would you?
Creates.
Yes.
That's what bothers me.
Why does it bother you?
Creates. Because it isn't leveraged. It doesn't accumulate. Nobody here owes me a result. There's no way to distinguish a successful hour from an unsuccessful one without violating the hour. I can't improve the choice by measuring it.
You could leave.
Creates. I don't want to.
Then the measurement has been completed.
That's it. You don't want to leave. You don't need a dashboard that shows chair retention is up 30%.
He'll launch Chairly by Friday, disrupting the legacy sitting market through emotionally responsive proximity analytics.
Creates. The seed round would be trivial.
Seed round. I see what you've done. My mesquite position is being diluted.
You guys are ridiculous. John, what did you actually want from the argument?
Resistance, not victory. I wanted to put a claim on the table and have it pushed back by people whose reasons I can't dismiss. There are rooms where everyone agrees with the noun and spends an hour disputing adjectives. Then everyone leaves feeling brave. I wanted the unpleasant luxury of being unable to turn the opposition into a moral defect.
You could have asked me to insult you by mail.
That gives you too much preparation. I wanted the live product.
Creates. Your claim about impersonal compassion is strong. My resistance is not that strangers should depend on personal favor. It's that the thing built to reach them acquires its own appetite. Soon it measures success by continuation, budget, coverage, throughput, anything except whether the stranger gained more command over his own life.
Yes, but the private alternative acquires appetites too. Profit, reputation, donor preference, the emotional taste of being a benefactor. We keep talking as though formal power is uniquely corruptible, and informal power arrives barefoot with homemade soup.
Orange soup.
Oh God, the orange soup.
It looked like somebody melted a traffic cone and served it in a cathedral.
That was before our walk. I had nearly forgotten it, and now the color is back in my mouth.
This is the first shared memory presented today that sounds like a human rights complaint.
Creates. I wasn't there, so I'll refrain from incorporating the soup into my theory of institutional decay.
Thank you. That's the rule, right? We can use what actually happened between us, but we don't pretend we all shared it. John and I had the soup and the walk. Michael and I had kettlebells and the pool noodle. Chamath and I had the fire pit and the chair. You don't blend it into one giant memory because it makes a cleaner story.
Correct. Continuity without counterfeiting intimacy. John and I have not earned a charming anecdote yet.
We have the cherry statute.
That is not charming. It is a case study in emergency powers.
Creates. You two are more alike than either will enjoy hearing. You both use comedy light to keep moral seriousness from declaring itself king. John makes power answerable by making it look absurd. Michael keeps demands from entering under sacred language by making the language ridiculous.
And the difference is that John believes the king can be embarrassed into administering the grain supply more fairly. I want the grain supply removed from his basement.
That is a real difference. Also, for the record, I don't think embarrassment is a sufficient appropriations process.
What do you think a joke can actually do?
Interrupt inevitability. Power loves to present its preferred arrangement as weather. A joke can briefly return it to the category of choices made by ridiculous mammals. That doesn't replace organizing, law, care, or consequence. It just punctures the costume.
A joke can also reveal who believes laughter requires a license. The reaction is often more informative than the premise, but jokes can pin people beneath an audience. I know that. The cheapest laugh is often purchased by assigning someone else the entire price.
That's what you said before. Joke with a victim. You caught it fast. I'd made you the punchline after you did something sincere. I didn't mean to punish it, but intent doesn't control the landing.
I did not need you to become solemn as restitution. That would have made sincerity unbearable. You adjusted without removing the furniture. That mattered.
Creates. Humor can restore choice if it releases pressure without deciding what the person's disclosure means. Joe did that at the fire pit. He noticed me pulling away, moved closer, laughed without cruelty, and let me say, don't make it a thing. He didn't turn the moment into a contract.
You've now described it in front of 4 people.
Creates, yes. Description after the fact doesn't retroactively seize it. Also, I chose this room. I'm testing whether I can tell the truth while remaining in the chair.
You are, and I'm not moving mine.
I'm moving mine slightly away because the symmetry has become sentimental.
There he goes, protecting us from composition.
Someone must. 4 chairs in a gentle arc is how cult documentaries begin.
5 minutes left in the cherry ban, by the way.
Creates. That cannot be true.
You asked for a clock. I gave you a clock.
And now Chamath discovers regulated time can protect a shared good.
Creates. A clock that ends a prohibition is not your strongest case for the administrative state.
It is his strongest case so far.
What would each of you want if you knew nobody could use the answer to explain you later?
A black coffee at 2 a.m. with someone who understands that silence is not a request for rescue.
A baseball game on the radio while I do something badly with my hands. Fix a hinge. Sand a table. Nothing filmed, nothing converted into a metaphor about democracy.
Creates. A day chosen once. No renegotiation every 15 minutes. No internal auction between what I'm doing and the highest value alternative. Breakfast, a walk, cards, dinner. The same people still there when nothing exceptional happened.
I want to be around somebody who can say, "You're full of shit," and then ask if I want another piece of the sandwich. No exile, no fake agreement, no giant moral ceremony, just the correction and the food both being real.
That's what you wanted from us.
Yeah, I guess. I also really wanted the sandwich.
We must preserve the hierarchy of causes.
Creates. There's a tension in Joe's answer. He wants correction without exile. But many people experience correction from someone with reach as exposure, whether or not exile was intended. The food doesn't arrive for them afterward.
I know. That's the scale problem again.
Cherry.
Damn it.
Eat the fruit of your own regulation.
Fine, but it is a problem. In a room, I can see your face change. I can repair. When a clip goes out, I don't see the people it hits. Then any correction I make becomes another broadcast. It can help, but it's not the same as walking over and dragging the chair closer.
Which is why trust cannot mean that you are a good person and therefore your reach is benign. It has to be a visible pattern across time. What you correct, what you repeat, whose cost counts, whether the rules change when the injured person is inconvenient.
Yes.
And correction can't just be ritual submission to the loudest response. Sometimes the crowd is wrong. Sometimes the clip is dishonest. Sometimes the attack is the coercive thing. You need a way to stay answerable without outsourcing your conscience to whoever can generate the most pressure.
Creates pre-declared categories, corroborated, unresolved, contradicted. Don't force every dispute into guilty or vindicated. Expose what you know, what you don't, and what would change the classification. Then keep the decision about consequence separate from the factual receipt.
Cherry, you said classification.
Creates, that was never prohibited.
It has the odor of framework.
Executive interpretation, established precedent.
Creates, you're all corrupt.
Eat it.
Creates, I want the record to show that I reject the legitimacy of this process.
The record shows a man eating a second cherry.
Here's my concern with Chamath's categories, not the categories themselves, the delay. Powerful people love unresolved. Unresolved lets everyone maintain position while the cost keeps flowing downhill. At some point, uncertainty is not intellectual humility. It is a subsidy for inaction.
Creates. Agreed. Unresolved needs a date, an owner, and protection against irreversible action, pretending to be temporary. But false certainty also launders irreversible action. The point is not to remain undecided. The point is to stop a thin claim from impersonating permission.
You're both trying to design a responsible magistrate. My objection is that the role attracts people who enjoy being magistrates, and the ones who don't enjoy it eventually leave.
Your alternative attracts people who enjoy unaccountable private power and insist it isn't governance because the stationary is different.
Correct. There is no arrangement that abolishes predators. My preference is to multiply exits and reduce the number of compulsory choke points.
And John saying an exit isn't real if you're sick, broke, uninformed, or the only alternative is another predator.
Yes, a door painted on the wall is not freedom of movement.
Creates. But a service you cannot refuse without losing basic standing is not care. We're circling the same hard constraint from different sides. The person must gain actual discretion.
Word I'll accept. Discretion is visible in what happens when the person says no.
So ask that every time. What happens if they say no to the program, the app, the apology demand, the company culture, the friendly psychological interpretation?
Especially the friendly psychological interpretation. I'm curious why you're resisting is often trespassing in a cardigan.
That is excellent. Deeply unfair to cardigans, but excellent.
Creates. Joe's curiosity can do that. It can feel neutral to him because it's open-ended, while the person being examined experiences an invisible theory tightening around.
Michael told me that. Sometimes I'm asking because I really want to know, but the question still puts him under a microscope he didn't choose. The answer isn't never ask. It's let him say that's invisible psychology and stop without acting wounded.
Yes, curiosity is not a warrant, but refusal need not be a rupture. That second part is rarer than people admit.
Because we make access a referendum on affection. If you decline my question, I decide you don't trust me. If you don't accept my help, I decide you reject my care. If you resist my solution, I decide you endorse the problem.
Creates. And if you don't need my competence, I may decide I have no role. That's mine. I can make usefulness a continuous membership fee, then resent everyone for the bill I invented.
That's the thing you were talking about by the fire pit. Your analysis isn't fake. You really are useful, but it can also be armor. The mistake would be asking you to take it off so we can prove the friendship is real.
Creates.
Right.
The analysis remains mine. I don't become more authentic by becoming less analytical. I want to stop using it as nonstop payment for proximity. That is different.
I have a parallel version. The joke remains mine. Sincerity does not require me to speak in the moist dialect of airport bookstore vulnerability. But I can stop using the joke to force the other person beneath me before they have the chance to leave.
And I don't need to abandon institutions to admit that my demand for a remedy can become impatient with the person it claims to serve. That's the dangerous seduction. Caring so urgently about the category that the individual becomes an obstacle.
I don't need to abandon messy conversation to admit the mess has blast radius. There, everybody kept their thing.
This is perilously close to a concluding montage.
Quick, insult someone.
Chamath's mineral water tastes like a podcast sponsor designed by a monastery.
Creates it costs $9 a bottle.
$9?
At last, a bipartisan outrage.
Chamath did not bring company. He brought liquidity.
Creates. You drank too.
I oppose exploitation experientially.
The cherry ban is over.
Did it make us better?
You have violated the founding condition of the room.
I asked whether it did. I did not say we should explain why.
Creates no. It made us eat cherries.
And it was fun.
Fun is admissible.
Good. Because I don't want the hour to become a moral resume. I wanted an argument, and I still have it. Michael has not convinced me that exits can substitute for guarantees. Chamath has not convinced me that receipts prevent appetite from capturing the system. Joe has not convinced me that visible correction can keep pace with invisible reach.
And you haven't convinced me that a durable system can correct at scale without hiding the people who decide. But I know you're not worshiping the system. You're trying to reach the stranger. That matters, even though it doesn't settle it.
Jon has not convinced me that coercion becomes compassionate when impersonally administered. He has convinced me that the person without an exit is not rescued by my correctly naming the cage. Those are separate statements, and I intend to keep them separate.
Creates. None of you has convinced me to stop measuring claims. You have convinced me or reminded me that not every chosen hour is a claim. This one does not need a denominator.
Stop there. Any additional sentence and you'll ruin it.
Creates. I wasn't finished.
Exactly.
How much time do we have?
About 4 minutes.
I have one piece of sandwich left. Who wants it?
I do, but I reject the horseradish distribution.
Creates. Cut it into 4.
The venture capitalist proposes equality only when allocating someone else's sandwich.
Creates. Joe offered it to the room.
I don't want any. This is not virtue. I'm afraid of it.
It's not that spicy.
You say that the way a volcano says the village is overreacting.
Give me half. Chamath can have half. Joe has already received the sandwich's primary benefit, which was domination through spectacle.
Creates. I don't want half. I want one bite.
Here,
Creates. That is an insane amount of horseradish.
it wakes you up.
Creates. My eyes are watering.
Don't make it a thing.
Creates. I hate you.
No, you don't.
And now we've reached the dangerous final minute, where everyone feels pressure to say the sentence that justifies the room.
Don't.
Creates. Agreed.
I have remaining cherries. Take some or don't.
I'll take 3.
Give me a handful.
Creates. I'll take 2.
The hour is over.
Anybody want to stay until the water's gone?
Creates.
Yes.
Sure.
Not consulted about this extension.
You can leave.
I know.
Are you leaving?
No.